This piece has been sitting for over a month and a half. The first time it was painted white, I chose to sand and paint it with this green enamel, which I thought was really cute with the gold, but no one else thinks so. No one wants to buy it, so. I couldn't believe how difficult it was to paint over this enamel paint and prepare it for a new paint color. At this point in the project, I had no idea what I was in for. Start by removing the hardware. I always put the screws back in the same hardware so that everything stays together. So we're going to clean everything off. We don't want any dirt to get caught in the sander, in the sandpaper, and grind into our surface. We want to make sure the surface is free of dust and dirt everywhere. After that dries, you can go ahead and sand. Hand sand places that your orbital sander can't reach. I use this medium grit sanding block from the Dollar Tree. Sometimes I wrap sandpaper around it also. It's easy to rinse and clean. Once it's dry, you can use it again. The enamel paint kept balling up as I sanded, so I wiped it clean with a cloth often. I think it's balling up so much because it's an enamel paint. So I'm going to hit the rest of it with 240 grit sandpaper, hoping to avoid the curlicues that the 180 grit caused. Through this process, I'll have my vacuum on and attached, and I'll be wiping as I go. A lot of these curlicues can happen if you end up with bits of the paint or dirt stuck in here, and this continues to spin and grind into your surface. This was taking too long. Option 2, which is using this sponge from the Dollar Tree that you usually use to wax a car. It gives you pretty good, you do use a pretty decent amount of paint. This is Waverly chalk paint from Walmart. Really wish I would have worn gloves because it took forever to get that paint off my fingernails. It's pretty normal for the first coat to be a little splotchy and wonder if you've made all the right decisions. After you've let it dry for the amount recommended on the bottle, you need to go ahead and sand again with 180 grit. The idea is to just lightly sand. You really just want to scuff up the surface enough to give the next layer of paint something to stick to, called giving it tooth. I'm not wearing a mask in here because the vacuum is hooked up, extracting all the paint dust. Wearing a respirator every time is something I'm trying to improve myself. This is a dry microfiber. I do this and then I use a tack cloth as well. As I was sanding, I noticed some holes, so I'm just going to fill those quickly, let them dry, and then sand them smooth with a 180. I needed to grab my syringe full of wood glue to fix the drawer I cracked by dropping it. Insert needle into the crack, wipe away excess glue, clamp and wipe again. Let dry and sand area with 240 grit. Use wood filler if necessary. Getting ready to use the paint sprayer for the first time. I got this from a garage sale, and it was covered in paint a little bit already. So I watered down the paint. I have the dial clicked 5 times to the right. The top button is set at a 2. I'm not sure what any of this means, but I did end up with some drips, so I cleaned them up with a sponge. And according to the videos I watched, there should be some sort of orange peel sort of look, as you can kind of see here. This is normal, and this is actually a dried photo, so you're going to sand it a little bit anyway, and that'll take care of some of that rough appearance. And this is 240 grit sandpaper here. After sanding, you're going to wipe with a dry microfiber cloth and then a tack cloth. I kind of like the tarnish look with the green, but with the white I'm going to clean it up with some bright shiny gold spray paint. Now before we put the hardware on, we're going to clear coat it with Rust-Oleum matte clear finish. I really like how quickly spray finishes go on. And here I'm using an old board to block off the top. I am so happy with it. Let me know what you think, if I should have kept it green and just waited. I put it for sale at the end of the driveway and it sold 2 days later.